Hello. Yep, today I'm going to tell you all about the history of Final Fantasy XIV. For instance, did you know that Bard LB3 used to be the healer LB3? That's
Wait,
right.
how is that
when
possible?
When a Bard did LB3, they would raise the entire party. Pretty cool. In order to unlock the job, you used to have to level another job to level 15. For instance, to get Black Mage, you would have to get Thaumaturge to level 30 and Archer to level 15. And not only that, but all of these role abilities here, they used to be called...
crafting doesn't require you to basically just level one to get to the other, but it's a lot cheaper that way, and you're actually like spending mats from your gatherers. And that kind of requires you to have gatherers before you level crafters. Is that what I don't know. I'm not sure I understand this, but let's continue to watch.
Cross-class abilities, and you would unlock them from leveling up other jobs and getting their skills. For instance, Swift Cast came from Black Mage level 26. So if you were a healer, you had to level Black Mage in order to have Swift Cast.
That sounds like a very lengthy leveling process.
And Dragoon had Blood for Blood, but that worked on all the melees. So all the other melees had to level Dragoon to get the damage buff. Provoke was a Paladin ability.
What was the one?
You could only get it from Paladin. If you played Warrior, you had to level Paladin.
Holy shit.
Or you didn't have Provoke.
What was the job that was just the easiest to level them
to Ragnarok
without
Origin,
having to play too much of like the other stuff?
This epic MMORPG on mobile has begun pre-registration.
So what would beginners do?
And discover mysterious, fun, and evil secrets hidden in this magical adventure.
Oh, I'm actually liking the way this looks.
Customize and upgrade your weapons, armor, magic
what is this
abilities,
contagious
and more
game?
to match your playstyle and defeat your opponents.
So how long would it take
art.
you
It's so nice. Who
to
level a heroic fantasy
like
life?
one?
What anime should I watch?
Like one job
Do I
to max
still watch
level?
anime? Of course. Yes. This is an MMO for anime fans. So if Ragnarok Origin looks interesting to you, go visit
Beginners
the
with
pre-registration
suffers?
site in the link in the description below and pre-register today.
So
and
when did
they're
they change that?
A Tesla Model S. So yeah, I think that might be worth doing. And healers used to have this thing called Cleric Stance. I'm not talking about the old Cleric Stance that would buff your damage. No. I'm talking about old
I like how he's shaking
the
the
one where you would
screen
have to
when he's
push
like,
a button
no.
and then swap between heal mode and DPS mode. Let's say I push a button. Okay, I'm in Cleric Stance.
Wait,
now all my DPS skills actually do damage,
don't the
right?
healers
but
do
all my
DPS
heals
as well?
don't heal. So now if I have to heal somebody, I have to pop Cleric Stance off and then heal them. And this was freaking great. You could tell people, no man, I can't heal you right now. I'm in Cleric Stance. Yeah,
so it's like having a healer but not having a healer?
I think everybody would really like that. Yeah, here's a fun one.
Oh yeah, I'll turn it down.
Used to have accuracy stats on it, and you would need a minimum accuracy in order to even
this should be better.
Yeah, there was a different number for the front, the rear, and the side. Yeah, so if you were a tank and you didn't meet the front accuracy requirement, guess what? All your hits miss and you don't keep aggro. Yeah, so you would have to build your entire gear set around making sure
I would not know how to be a tank.
And we didn't always look this beautiful and amazing. Yeah, in the beginning of the game, we didn't have glamours. Yeah, we looked like this. You know, a tome chest, hands from a raid, boots from a dungeon. Yeah. This one might actually be the biggest quality of life change. Yeah, in raids, when you wiped, your cooldowns did not reset. So if you pulled and somebody hit hollowed ground and they needed it, and then everybody died, you had to wait the 7 minutes for hollow ground to
It's
come
like,
out.
I'm just gonna go make coffee, and then you make coffee like 15 times during the raid.
You lost your food buff. Yeah, every time you died, you had to put your food buff back on. If any group had a bard, which most did, dragoons were required because they would give a piercing debuff to the boss, and that would buff the bard's damage. Also, there used to be 3 bars. There, we had HP, MP, and TP. And the physical jobs would all work off of TP.
What's a TP?
And, yeah, guess what? Whenever you push sprint, you would use up your entire TB gauge, and you wouldn't be able to attack anymore.
Oh
Pretty
no!
Good for casters and healers though, because they used MP.
Oh no!
Oh yeah!
Oh
and
goodness!
dying would reduce all of your stats.
Oh
so
goodness!
the more you died, your health would get lower too, which really did not end up helping your cause because it just became easier to die then. Overall, tanks had to.
And
do
there
a lot
was no
more
echo
managing with their
either.
enmity than they do now. Actually, everybody in the whole party would kind of help out, especially ninjas. They had an ability where they could give their enmity to the tank, and they actually had an ability where they could reduce somebody else's enmity.
It's like ancient history. answer. You guys don't even remember.
And of course, asking the black mage to make sure they did quelling strikes before they used all their explosions, that was very common. Otherwise, the boss would go whoop and kill the black mage. You know, melees still cry about positionals now, but back in the day, if you missed a positional, you broke your combo. Dots wouldn't happen. The buffs wouldn't happen if you didn't get the positional.
That sounded very hard to play.
Way worse. Your whole rotation would be messed up. So this
You
is
feel
pretty
old?
Cool. Titan Eggy used to be able to be a tank. Yeah, it
I
made
feel
lot
like a
more sense.
fledgling.
And he had a health
I feel
bar.
like I
They don't have health bars
skated
anymore.
by
In fact,
and
there was a whole
avoided all
strat
the hard
surrounding that.
times.
This fight was way too hard for the tanks at the time, so we would just bring Titan Eggy, and Titan Eggy would tank remove. Reason being is he didn't have to do the tank mechanics. But yeah, Square Enix did not like that, so they nerfed Titan Eggy after that. Something about wanting the tanks to be able to play the game. I mean,
or wanting the tanks to do the work.
Solo extreme fights because of Titan. So yeah, don't worry, Titan Eggy. I'm sure someday you'll do something good again.
So cute.
So you know how with Scholar, they have two fairies, Eos and Selene. You might be wondering what's the difference. Right now, there's not a difference, but there used to be a big one. So Eos used to be the healer-focused fairy. It did a lot of AoE regens and buffs. But Selene, on the other hand, was the DPS fairy, specifically because it gave everybody
She looks more
haste.
mean.
Yeah, Selene was the best. Especially for black mages. We freaking love Selene. Yeah, but she doesn't do that anymore, so bye.
What does she
You used to
do?
be able to assign points to your attributes. So like you would put 30 points into strength or 30 points into intelligence, right? So if you wanted to be able to play both Scholar and Summoner, whenever you swapped, you need to buy this item that would reset your stat allocation points between Mind
What's
and
the stat
Intelligence.
allocation?
Yeah, back in the day, you couldn't actually just queue up for raids in the Duty Finder. You had to go to where the raid was physically located with your whole party of
So
8
there was
people
no
physically
like
here and queue up
5
at the
possible
location. Yeah, and
raids
this
to go
meant that all
into,
of the
and you go
raiders
into
on
the
server
first
would
one
be
that
here
procs.
during raid night. You know,
None of
reset
that?
would happen. There would be people sitting here waiting for their raid to start, or there'd be people over here jumping up and down naked asking for a raid group. You know, it was simple times, very simple times. And this would change depending on the tier. Like this is
It
where
is very
second coil
community
was.
oriented,
And
isn't
right over
it?
this way, this is where the final coil
sounds
was. You see this
kinda
entrance
like
right here.
the
This
way
is
it
where
used to be in WoW.
everybody would be. Oh yeah, and by the way, cross-world party finder
Because I was
was
starting
not
to
a
think
thing.
that
You
these
could only raid
entrances
with the
make
people
no
that were on your
sense, but they
server.
actually
So
used to
again,
make
that's why
sense.
all the raiders
Like,
were
they're
here
just
on
always
raid
there.
night,
Nobody
and if you weren't
uses
here on
them,
raid night, you
except
couldn't
for when
raid. But
you
I
use
mean,
them for the
now we
first
have a
time.
full party finder, and you're gonna be able to find a raid no matter what time of day. So ultimately, it's better for the game that way. You know how all of our raids nowadays are called Savage? It'll say Savage difficulty, and that's the end game raid. Well, back in A Realm Reborn, the coils were Savage. They just didn't have that naming convention yet. These were the end game
so they were
raids.
nerfed?
And when you see a second coil Savage, these were super hard. Their whole idea of making these was how mean can we be? And in these older raids, since they have trash mobs in between the
Did they
entrance
actually
and the
have a
boss,
name?
you
Were
would
they
have somebody
not
join the
called,
party
like,
earlier on in the week to
ultimates
go
or
in
something
and
like that? They
clear
were
the
just
trash,
there.
and that would get you a shortcut. So that way, when you did have raid time during that week, you could just use the shortcut and start attacking the boss right away. We don't have to do that anymore because now raids are just, you know, you queue in, you're at the boss. And it's unfortunate, but like these older raids, like Coil especially, you can never fight it like how it used to be. Even with minimum item level on and no echo, the fight is nerfed from its original state. They don't do this anymore, but they did at the time. Every patch after a raid
So they
would come
nerfed
out,
it,
they would
but they
nerf the
also
previous
made
tier.
like
For
a savage
instance, in
version
this
of
fight,
it.
A Reynod, if it hit you, you would die. One shot, you're dead. And then all of the petrification mechanics in this fight, if you petrified your teammate or somebody else petrified you and you got hit by anything while you were petrified, no matter how much damage it did, you died.
Just die.
Another really cool thing with this fight was that you needed to get a kiter. You see this tether going from me to the Reynod there? You needed a specific person in the raid team to do this job, and it would usually be a summoner. So the party finders would always be like, need summoner, need a kiter.
Why?
Because the kiter would bring the Reynod over here and they would slow it down with their dot, and then the healers would freeze it in place. And you would do that with 4 Reynods, and eventually they just wouldn't spawn anymore. Fun fact with
it's like in WoW, like needing druids for summoning.
And there's 2 of them at a time. Yeah, the way that they designed Turn 7 Savage was they looked at how we did strats and how we cheese things, and then made it impossible for us to cheese it anymore. Now in Turn 2, there was this really funny strat. Because Allegan Rot was too hard and nobody wanted to do it, that's the debuff that you gotta pass around, otherwise you explode. What you would do instead was wait for the enrage timer 12 minutes, and you would bring in 3 healers, and you would pull ADS just as it enraged, and then you would just heal through all the damage that it did instead. See, charge complete in 10 clicks.
That?
Gotta wait for 0 clicks. 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes.
Like, imagine people just coming up with these strats.
Charge
That's
complete.
Insane.
Now we pull. It's enraged. Yep, this was much easier to deal with than doing rot. He just keeps doing this AoE over and
Square
over and over
Enix
again.
was just like,
you would need 3 healers.
What are these guys doing?
Also, Mordona in general didn't always look like this. Yep, there used to be a big tree here. Not sure why they took that out. Everybody would stand up here.
They needed the resources. Really cool chop.
By standing right here. Or maybe even a mount, right? You're like, oh, I earned this really awesome mount. Oh, that actually kind of worked out. And you just sit right here.
Wait, what mount is that? I know nothing.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
The greatest part about Mordona was this secret little glitch over here. You could do this, bada bing, bada boom, jump up here.
He's still doing it now. Oh, he's not.
Over here, jump across that, jump onto this rope, and look, now I'm on this rope. See, isn't this nice?
Wait, why was that a glitch?
Really cool.
It's just
Great
a
view
cool
up here.
spot.
But it's not that special anymore because we can just fly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, that's it. Actually, there's probably a lot of different things I could go on.
Is that like
the
PvP mount?
Final Fantasy XIV, and maybe I will another time. But for now, that's all I've got. So thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.
Wow, that sounds like a game I would probably not know how to play. How did you guys even play this? Did you just voluntarily just put... Okay, I should stop myself right there. I was about to ask, did you actually put yourself through this? And I'm the person who played through like Battle for Azeroth and like half of Shadowlands and whatnot. So I should just stop myself right there. This was still better. This was still better. Okay, we're gonna watch another one. This is the Heavensward version. Apparently, this is also history. For me, it is history because I know none of this. So I just kind of wanted to check it out. Hopefully, it's gonna be fun for you guys. You said that this one was a little bit too loud, so I'm just gonna tone it down a little bit. Okay, cool.
Hello there. My name is Larry. Hello there.
Oh.
My name is Larry.
There we go.
And I'm going to teach you all about the history of Final Fantasy XIV again.
This was fun.
So you guys know about the Rising event going on right now. They do this every year to celebrate the
I did that.
Of Final
The
Fantasy
first
XIV.
one.
And actually,
my
this
first one
person
this
right
year.
here is Minfilia. Yeah, that's 1.0 Minfilia. Yeah, now she doesn't even talk. Yeah. She just sells us wine now. Thanks, Minfilia. And
Wait,
my favorite
I didn't
version
even
of this
know
event,
about that
they had us
vendor.
go onto the floor of the Square Enix office that was the development room for Final Fantasy XIV. So Yoshi P was there. All of the developers had their characters there
Cool.
in this like fictional floor of the Square Enix building. And yeah, they would all talk to us and tell us about the jobs that they do at the Square Enix office. And actually, that's
How
where
brilliant
they
is
teased
that?
Red Mage and
This
Blue
is the way you
Mage
put yourself
at
into the
time, because
game.
neither of those were in the game yet. You know this
This
place,
is the right way.
Idleshire? Yeah, it didn't always look like this. This was the endgame zone back in Heavensward, and this was where everybody would hang out, and they would show off all their cool gear. Throughout all the patches in Heavensward, they slowly built this place up. Like, this was not a building. This used to be just tents out here.
Would that
There
happen like
was no
through
roof,
questing,
no
or
ceiling,
did the
there
buildings
was no
just like
rooms
magically
like
pop
this.
up
This
after
is
the
all
patch
new.
day?
And good thing that I'm a genius, because I recorded some of this footage back in the day to see what the changes would be like. There was this really popular one.
Because
the
he knew
hanging guy.
that it would happen.
During construction, there was this construction worker that would be hanging around somewhere for his dear life, and they would change where he was every patch, right? Until eventually, when the
That's so
construction was
cruel.
completed, and they finally gave him a rest.
Oh,
And
I
here
thought
he
they
is.
would like give him
This
a
is him.
grave or
That's the
something.
hanging guy. This video is sponsored by World Flipper. Link in the description below. Flip
Like,
your way
next to
into
my,
exciting and mysterious
next to my
worlds.
house where I
Team
grew
up
up,
with
there's a
brave and
church,
exotic heroes
and
to
next
fight
to the
forces of
church,
evil
there's
together
like a
in
little.
epic
It's
pinball
not really a
adventure.
grave, but it's like a
That's right.
tombstone
World Flipper is a
to the
pinball
person
action
who
game
was
with
working
RPG
on the like
mobile,
construction
featuring
works for
retro
that
2D
church
style pixel
and who
grid.
fell and
Players
died.
choose a character along
And
with
that's
more
like the
6 elements,
tombstone that
and
I
each
used
of them
to, like,
has
sit
special
on
skills. The gameplay
when
is
I,
super
like,
unique as it takes all
come
the
back
fun,
from school every
reaction-based
day.
precision of
That's
pinball
where my
and
friends
combines it
used
with
to gather,
various RPG
and where we'd
mechanics.
talk
You can play
before
with
each
up
one
to
of
2
us
your
would
friends in
just
co-op
go
boss
home.
battles and take down powerful raid bosses together. And it was actually published by Cacao Games and developed developed by Games. So if World Flipper looks interesting to you, go pre-register in the link in the description below.
Right. So the story had something to do with it, but like the patch was the actual point of impact. Okay, cool.
And now back to the video. One of the things that I miss the most in Final Fantasy XIV are some of the really cool skills that we used to have.
Yeah, we weren't even teens. We were like 7 or 8 or 9.
Do a backflip and rain arrows from above and death. And dragoons. Oh man, they had a pole dance. It was great. What a good AoE. That's the one that everybody misses and is always asking for to come back. But
so why did they take it out?
These guys.
Is that Yulmore?
Not the same.
Now I know that.
Get me started on Shadow Flare. I still keep it on my bar to remember it. Can I talk about glitches? Is that okay? In the beginning of Stormblood, when summoners first got Bahamut, we figured out a way to keep Bahamut out forever. But yet, naturally, I decided to make a music video about it. It's very good. One of my best things I've ever made. There was also this really good glitch where you could spin with your
What's Shadow Flare? Oh man, I feel...
Mary made this video. It's a work
I feel so
art.
Dumb for even asking these questions.
Yeah, Diadem, this content does not exist in the game anymore. This is actually one of the rare cases in Final Fantasy XIV history where there's content that you cannot play. Well,
wait, is that not like a crafting
This was introduced in Heavensward
zone
and was
or
one
whatever?
Of the first like exploration style contents. Where
because I just unlocked that. How can I not go there?
Islands and farm things.
They did talk about it.
Materials. Like
I can't enter that
random
thing?
gear. It was pink gear. And the
oh, it's the old one. But there's a new one, right?
So you could get like a chest piece with like 5 stats maxed out, like crit, direct hit. Well, direct hit didn't exist at the time, but crit, determination, spell speed, all maxed out. But what it escalated to was everybody would just sit around on what we called Dino Island, and we would just kill dinosaurs for hours on end until Littlefoot's mom appeared, and then we would kill Littlefoot's mom. Or rather, Littlefoot's mom would kill us with a meteor attack. But eventually we might get her down. And then they introduced this like crazy huge man raid on it. And it was rare for it to spawn in the first place. Like
I've never even seen this
and I only was able to beat it the one time. But this thing would drop one
like
weapon.
The current diadem
out of the entire 120 whatever it was instance would get it. And it had random stats.
So
and
many
it was
people.
better than the raid weapon. So everybody at the time was screaming bloody murder that this was gonna ruin Final Fantasy XIV. The game would be irreparable and everybody would quit the game. Obviously, it turned out fine and nobody cared.
Didn't
Do you
happen.
even know what this weapon was? No, you probably don't. Have you ever even seen one? No, because it didn't matter. But yeah, that was a fun time. I actually really liked
thank you for the
but then
super
again,
chat
I like
and
the
welcome.
really grindy stuff in MMOs, so I have something wrong with me.
Good
I'm gonna talk
luck.
about some class
Good
stuff
luck on
now.
your
Back
final
in Heavensward,
journey.
Bard and Machinist were casters.
We're here for a
Yeah.
history lesson
They would
today.
go into a special DPS mode where they did more
Thank
damage
you so
if they
much for the
casted their
support and
spells.
good luck.
I mean, casted their arrows and gunshots. Some people liked it. Those people...
I think you
need
might
some
like
help.
this as
And
well.
I talked about the cross-class system in the last video, but honestly, there's some really interesting things to go on about that. Like with Warrior, right now they have Nascent Flash, which is an ability to heal themselves for damage that they do, but they didn't always have this, and it's still locked behind level 76. Well, back in A Realm Reborn, Warrior had Bloodbath. Warriors loved this.
What
It
a
was their
good
bread
name
and butter
for an
and would
ability.
basically sustain them in all dungeon pulls. They wouldn't need a healer. But in Stormblood, they removed
Shit.
it, and Warriors were very sad about that.
Is
because
this why no one
Now they
recommends
needed a
Warrior
healer to
as
heal
a
them, and that was
as a
just no
starting
good.
tank?
Something really funny with the cross-class system. When
Or
you
is
took
there
off
more?
your job stone and you just became, instead of like the job, the class, you could cross-class even more things. Oh, I actually have some
What?
right here. Bloodbath, Foresight. This was
You
a
could
tank
wait.
cooldown.
Could you
on my
actually
Black
use
Mage.
these abilities?
Flash. Flash was Paladin's AoE like aggro getter. But yeah, I could also get Provoke.
What?
You could go into a 24-man raid on a Black Mage or Thaumaturge, and you could just provoke the boss.
Shit.
Ring of Thorns! I still have it on my bar. I'm on Old Summoner, and there's Provoke. And there's Raging Strikes and Blood for Blood. I'm
So-
attacked.
So these spell actually
And back in the
worked,
day, with
and
healers, when you would
Square
zone
was just
into a
like,
dungeon,
oh, let them
everybody
have
would
fun.
stand still and wait for you. Why? Well, because you needed to cast Protect on them, of course. I still have it on my bar. It's right here. And then in a raid,
These people
you would
are
cast
never gonna get rid of
Stone
these
Skin on everybody. This was like a
these
shield.
hotkeys.
And then if you had a Scholar in your group, you would make them cross-class Stone Skin so that they could help you put Protect on everybody. One of the biggest changes to tanks over the years was
What a shit
Tank
show.
Stance. Tank Stance used to reduce your damage taken and reduce your damage that you dealt. So Paladin had Shield Oath, and then they also had Sword Oath, and Sword Oath was their damage stance. But because Tank Stance would reduce your damage by 20%, it became standard where a raid group would just have their tanks never in Tank Stance. Because we couldn't lose 20% damage to that, we had DPS checks to make, man. They would use melee accessories, so they would go steal the Dragoon's accessories and put them on instead because they had strength. And a tank that was doing this, never in Tank Stance and strength accessories, would do about as much damage as another DPS. But yeah, we don't do that anymore. This was a fun one.
Was there like a
Astrologian's
book of
cards
rules
used to be completely
that you needed
different.
to read
And
before
by different,
starting
I mean
the end
each
game?
one of them was different.
How
Balance
did
was
people
actually
even
the only one
acquire
that would
this
be a damage
knowledge?
buff. Everything else did different stuff, like a crit buff or a speed buff. And it was actually really fun to just give a melee the speed buff, because like a monk is already fast, right? So you give them the speed buff to go even faster, and then they would just run out of TP. They would just go so fast that they would run out of resource and they can't attack anymore. So then the Astrologian would extend the speed buff on them. And that's why Astrologian's pose
Like, there's a
looks
lot
like
of
this.
stuff that I don't know
They're all
about these
smug.
things.
Dungeons used to
But,
reward
like,
tomes differently than they do now. What they used to
The
do
end game sounds
was
a shit
reward
ton
the
more
tomes for
complicated
each boss.
than what it is
But you know
now.
what people did? They would run this dungeon, specifically Brave Flox's hard mode. They would do the big pull all the way to the boss. They would lock all the mobs out of the boss arena. And then they would kill the boss and then leave. They wouldn't do the rest of the dungeon.
How could
because
you?
That was more
How were
time
you able to
efficient
do that?
than just doing the full dungeon for the tomes. So Square Enix didn't like that.
Of course they did.
And so they made it so all the endgame tomes have to come from the last boss instead. But yeah, this dungeon is what we did all the time for relic farming back in Realm Reborn. And actually, dungeons, we used to get 3 of them per patch. You know, they changed this because we've gotten all different types of content now, but they used to do 3 dungeons every single
I noticed
patch.
that
That's why the
there's
list
a
of
lot
Realm Reborn
more
dungeons is so
I actually only
long.
just
Look at it
unlocked
compared to
all
Heavensward, they went down to 2
of the dungeons.
per patch. Stormblood, they went down to 2 or
Including
1
the
dungeons
hard
per patch.
ones. Like that
And
was
now
a
this
that was a
expansion,
big
they've
project
only
for
done 1
me.
dungeon per patch. And that is not a bad thing. It's because we get
I love this
different
guy's
types
voice.
of content than just dungeons. Oh yeah, and in Dunscaith, you know this Proto Ultima boss? This guy was not always there. When Dunscaith first came out, that was not there. It was actually a succubus boss. Anyway, I mean, there's still so much more I could talk about the history, but these are just some other ones I thought up in my head. But that'll be it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll
Thank
see you in the
you
next one.
for making
Okay,
this
bye.
video. Yeah, guys, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. That was a good one. Yeah, this is fun, and not just fun. Like, I learned a shit ton of stuff, and this is actually making me feel slightly better about, actually learning how to play the game, because now it looks more possible than ever. Because if